July 1984. Colombian native Luis Herrera puts his nation and all of Latin America on the cycling map. After finishing second in 2 stages of the Tour de France and winning the Alpe d'Huez climb, after a legendary display over champions Laurent Fignon and Bernard Hinault. May 2008. The white Kenyan Chris Froome leaves his continent aside and becomes a British citizen to be accepted in English teams such as Barloworld and Sky, giving 7 Grand Tours to a United Kingdom that has always preferred the ex-alcoholic Bradley Wiggins, who even has an honorary title of Sir from his nation. March 2022. More than 120 years after the Black Mile World Champion Marshall Taylor was booed in his own country, the United States, the Black Eritrean Biniam Girmay takes a win in one of the most important classics of the spring, the Gent Wevelgem, considered by experts as the 6th monument of cycling. Do you want to know his story? And why his career seems predestined to make him a superstar? Well, without any further ado, let the show begin. For decades, cycling was becoming the last of the major competitive sports to embrace racial inclusion. While in track and field, multiple black athletes were winning gold medals. In basketball, the biggest and the highest paid superstars were black players. And even in motorsports, they produced their own Formula 1 champion. In cycling, it's not that there were no black winners, it's that there were virtually no dark-skinned riders in the peloton at all until the early 2010s. There are many reasons for this, some of them cultural, others due to fear of leaving the European borders of cycling itself, and others even racist, with directors, cyclists and fans sometimes berating athletes simply because of their nationality or skin colour. Fortunately, one of the things that the UCI has done well, although we know that it is purely economic business, is to expand cycling to Africa, and consequently to the largest epicentre of black population in the world. The 4 times Tour de France champion Chris Froome had the opportunity to become the classic white reference that big companies use to expand their market among the black population. But except for some promotional videos, the now YouTuber has preferred to spend his time recording his training and encouraging absurd debates about time trial bikes instead of using his power, which must be considerable, since despite testing positive for salbutamol in the Vuelta a España, not only did he not lose the competition, but he got another Vuelta as a gift 7 years later, has preferred to look the other way and only be African when it's interesting. Like this year, already finished for competitive cycling, but earning €5.5 million a year, he wanted to go to the Tour of Rwanda as a relic of the past to justify his juicy contract with the Israel team. Fortunately, that role has remained for those who have never renounced their origins, the South African cyclists, the Rwandans, and especially the Eritreans, the great power of Africa in cycling. While Froome began to win tours, thanks to his authorization for therapeutic use, several Eritrean cyclists were making their way into the peloton. The most successful of them, Nathaniel Berhane, who managed to win the 2013 Tour of Turkey after the original winner, the doped Turkish rider Mustafa Sayır, tested positive for EPO. He managed to establish himself in the peloton as a gregario in Europcar and later in the African Quebeca team, although his last 2 campaigns were lamentable and he retired at only 31 years of age. Another rider who was recognised by all, and former teammate of Berhane, was Daniel Teklehaimanot, who won the Grand Prix of Rhodesia in 2013, ahead of PlayStation player Angel Madrasso, and twice won the King of the Mountains classification at the Criterium de Dauphiné. Minor achievements that were nevertheless the entry into the major European competitions for the Eritreans. Maybe as much then in the pursuit of diversity rather than for the quality of the riders. However, all this has changed with the arrival of Biniam Girmay. At just 18 years of age, Girmay signed with the UCI World Cycling Centre and moved to Switzerland to begin racing as a junior away from his home country. In that first year, he put Remco Evenepoel himself on the ropes on several occasions and even beat him in a stage The same year that the young Belgian surprised the world with his displays at the World Junior Championships. But Girmay didn't have that good press and had to continue without being a pro in 2019. That same year he won in the two most important African competitions, with a stage in the Tour of Rwanda and another at the Tropicale Amissa Bongo in Gabon, ahead of European champions like Andre Greipel. These good performances made him a professional in the modest Delco Marseille team, where he shone again in African competitions and achieved his first top 10 in the European campaign, until the team disappeared and he was signed as a promise by Intermarché Wanty, the most humble team of the World Tour, but a World Tour team nonetheless, and he soon showed signs of his quality. He won the Classic Grand Besançon in the sprint against none other than Nairo Quintana and Thibaut Pinot, and had it not been for a surprise attack by the Italian Filippo Baroncini, Girmay would have been the under-23 world champion in Leuven. Fortunately, this great result at the World Championship places him as one of the wheels to watch, but no one expected such a Trambolico 2022 from the Eritrean. One has to put Girmay's displays into a sporting context. Intermarché Wanty is another team that, along with Lotto Soudal, Movistar or Arkea Samsic, is going to have to fight for UCI points to be part of the World Tour in the 2023 season and not to be relegated. Several riders in the squad have even trained in Africa itself at the High Performance Centre in Rwanda and have marvelled at the marginal advantages that they have gained away from any kind of vampire, as Estonian Rain Taramay commented. But no cyclist has experienced as great an improvement as the young Biniam Girmay, just 21 years old. After winning one of the Challenge de Majorca trophies, his month of March has been spectacular, considering his attributes as an explosive man who is neither a sprinter nor a climber, with 3 top 6 finishes in stages at Paris-Nice, a top 10 in the Milan-Torino, won by Cavendish in a sprint, an impressive 12th place in the Milan-San Remo, overcoming the Poggio in the second group of favourites, and now, especially, his great Belgian weekend, with a spectacular 5th place at the Eritrea Harelbeke, beaten by Wout van Aert, and of course his victory in the Gent Wevelgem. Yes, possibly he was not the strongest man in the race. He won by strategy, by being in the right place at the right time. But he had the maturity to beat the hypervitaminized Christophe Laporte, who thought that with the headwind he would also be superior in this classic, taking advantage of Van Aert giving him the carte blanche. But the Eritrean rider was first to the line, despite launching the sprint from afar, demonstrating that even though he had been at his best for a month, Girmay could hold the last 200 metres in the lead and be the winner of this legendary classic. He's now gone down in history. He has put Africa on the map beyond the small world of cycling. He's become a world trending topic, and most importantly for him, he is going to become an advertising star and a rider that the UCI would love to see wearing the world champion jersey at the Rwandan Championships in 2025. You know, he has arrived. Now the hard part is going to be keeping the spotlight on him.